The broadcast of the regular meeting of the Business Inspections, Housing and Zoning Committee will now begin.
Welcome to the regular meeting of the Business Inspections, Housing and Zoning Committee for February 2nd. I'm Lisa Goodman. I'm the chair of the committee. As we begin, I'll note for the record that this meeting has remote participation from members of the City Council and city staff as authorized under Minnesota State Statute Section 13D.021 due to the declared local public health emergency. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify quorum for our meeting.
Councilmember Reich.
Here.
Gordon.
Here.
Osmond.
Here.
Ellison.
Present.
Schrader.
Here.
Chair Goodman.
Present. Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Let me be the first to welcome Lisa Brock, our new committee clerk. It's great to hear your voice, Ms. Brock, and thank you for doing this job, which is difficult to be a clerk in these remote times. Welcome and thank you. In recognition of February as Black History Month, Fire Chief Brian Tyner has challenged council members to open each public meeting with a historical fact that tied to Black History Month. In that spirit, on this day in Black history, Eric Himpton Holder Jr. was sworn in as the 82nd Attorney General of the United States. He was there from 2009 to 2015 under President Barack Obama. He was the first person of African ancestry to hold the nation's top law enforcement position. Born in the Bronx, New York, he's the son of parents with roots in Barbados. After graduating from Columbia Law School, he joined the Public Integrity Section of the Department of Justice for 12 years. Holder served as a judge in the Superior Court in the District of Columbia and as a United States Attorney before being appointed Deputy Attorney General in the Clinton administration. He's been named one of the 50 most influential minority lawyers in America and was awarded the Golden Plate by the American Academy of Achievement in 2012. The National Urban League named Holder recipient of its Living Legend Award. Dr. Holder and his wife, Dr. Sharon Malone, an obstetrician, have 3 children. They live in the Washington, D.C. area. While he continues his private practice, Dr. Holder is also an active mentor to various programs for inner city youth and is actively involved with advocacy groups that fight for voting rights and fair redistricting processes. The agenda for today's meeting is in front of us. We are going to begin with a very peachy presentation honoring Ann Calvert for her service and dedication to the city of Minneapolis. And I've asked the clerk to put the resolution onto the screen so everyone can take a look at it as I read it out loud. And it is really a major achievement, 47 years for the city. So honoring Ann Calvert for her service and dedication to the city of Minneapolis. Whereas Ann began working at the Minneapolis Housing and Redevelopment Authority as a part-time draftsperson in November 23rd, 1973 to help pay for architecture school at the University of Minnesota and became a permanent employee on March 17th, 1975. And whereas Ann shifted to a planner 1977, quickly progressed through planner 1, 2, and 3 levels, and then became an assistant project manager in February of 1980. Whereas after later serving as an economic development analysis in 1982 and 83 for the Housing Authority's successor, the Minneapolis Community Development Agency, and became the MCDA supervisor of riverfront development in May of 1983, then manager of the industrial mixed use in 1993 and manager of business development in 1995. And whereas in 1997, Ann transitioned to the senior and later principal project coordinator position. And whereas in her supervisory positions, Ann has had extensive involvement in multiple riverfront projects and initiatives, including the St. Anthony, Maine Phase 4, Minnesota Supercomputer Center, FMC Technology Center, the construction of the West River Parkway and related park improvements between Plymouth and I-35, the Whitney Hotel, Crown Roller Mill renovation, Sarasota building offices, Theater de la Jeune Lune, Lord's Square, River City Trolley, the Marquette Block, the Federal Reserve Bank, the Above the Falls Master Plan, the Grain Belt Brew House, and the West Side Milling District and Mill City Museum. And whereas for several decades, Ann was the city's main staff representative for numerous interagency riverfront groups and projects, including the Riverfront Technical Advisory Committee, the Minneapolis National River and Recreation Area, the St. Anthony Falls Heritage Board, including projects such as the Stone Arch Bridge, St. Anthony Falls Heritage Trail, and Mill Ruins Park, the American Heritage River Initiative, the Minnesota Sesquicentennial, multiple Mississippi Mile and Minneapolis Riverfront District promotions, and the study that resulted in the creation of the Minneapolis Riverfront Partnership. And whereas for many years, Ann was the general public's go-to person for all information on the riverfront, and whereas Ann's many other projects, including the renovations of the State Theater, Orchestra Hall, PV Plaza planning, Brave New Workshop, I-35 Visual, Quality Advisory Team, Elliott Park, Great Streets Planning, Hennepin Avenue Planning, including handling the city's lease with the Hennepin Theater Trust for the Orpheum State and Pantages. And whereas Ann also served as the principal project coordinator for the Historic Mills District Master Plan and update, the Milwaukee Road Depot Freight House renovation, the Milwaukee Depot Hotel Ice Rink project, the Guthrie Theater and related public improvement packages, the Pillsbury Amil Tunnel Legacy Grant, the Surly Brewing Project, and many years of Upper Harbor Terminal redevelopment planning. And whereas Ann has earned the respect, admiration, and affection of her many city colleagues by unfailingly embodying and exemplifying the very best attributes of a faithful public servant. Therefore, now be it resolved that the mayor and city council do hereby commend Ann Calvert for over 47 years of continuous exemplary service to the MHRA, the MCDA, and the city of Minneapolis, and present her this honorary resolution as a tiny token of our deep esteem and sincere gratitude for her outstanding contributions and many achievements for and on behalf of the people of the city of Minneapolis. So I just will say, Ann, I wish I could feel peachy about this, but I don't. Normally, we want to wish people well and think they should do more, but you've done so much. It's almost hard to ask for anything more from you. I've had the good fortune to work with you on many of the projects listed in the resolution, probably most notably to me, the 20-year build out of the Mills District, which we worked on together, and so many incredible staff at CPED also worked on. And of course, where we're at now with the State Orpheum and Pantages Theater. I know there are others on this call who could speak to your work on the Upper Harbor Terminal, the Greenbelt Brewery, and so many other incredible things that you've worked on. I think what makes you really unique is you are really respected and loved by CPED staff. The way you've treated your colleagues with an incredible level of personal attention and emotion is really appreciated by so many people at CPED. You know, this is the kind of work where you get great reward and incredible criticism. You've been able to withstand so much of the criticism with a level of grace and professionalism. I'm not sure you could ever be replaced. I understand that you are entitled to retire, and I'm hoping that we will be able to find a way to keep you involved in what's happening as the city moves forward. It would not be the same without you, and I am honored to know you, and thank you for your service. Let me see if there's anyone else on the call. It's kind of awkward who potentially would want to say something. There could be staff or other council members. You can write in the chat if you're interested, and we'll start with Eric Hansen. Mr. Hansen, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Eric Hansen. I'm the Director of Economic Policy and Development, and it's a very big honor to speak on behalf of Ann Calvert today. Councilmember Goodman, the city is not the same since Ann started working here. She probably won't like it, but before I was born, and you can see that in the list of projects. And if you look at, if those at home aren't hearing, you know, the names and identifying them, before Ann, the river, the central riverfront was an industrial area. And now it's a place for people, and a lot of people that are there. She's had an believable impact on the city's tax base and just the sense of community. And you know, it is impossible to replace somebody like Ann. I personally am in the position I'm in part because of her willingness to teach. The skill of economic development and community development is something you learn on the job, and Ann is one of my most significant mentors early in my career. She was willing to show me how TIF works and what historic reviews are, and tutored me around the river, and I will be forever grateful for her contribution to my career and just the overall community. She is loved. There is not one person that has anything negative to say about Ann anywhere. And if they do, it's because they're talking about somebody different, because she's the best. So thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hansen. Councilmember Reich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think Mr. Hansen was being polite when he said Ann found the Central Riverfront as an industrial area. It was a post-industrial, very derelict carryover from a bygone era. So the challenges were quite great in terms of what it could mean for the city, and the stakes were quite high given its proximity to a downtown that itself was struggling with the urban situation of the day, which Ann's involvement was a critical part, if not an absolutely necessary part of a turnaround story that we all benefit from. And of course, reason why I'm chiming in now is not so much that work, though it's admirable. It's that that's held out a lot of hope, grounded hope, for what could be for the northern stretch of the river. She both has guided so many efforts, so many citizen efforts to redirect that area into its new era, and did it in a way where we had confidence. We had confidence because she was accomplished in what she had done professionally, confidence because she inspired us to think strongly, and confidence because she was just a good arbiter of what the public can do in the name of the public. There's so many things that spring from that, but to recognize that is deeply important to me, and I'm so grateful for her work and the fact that I got to know her and learn so much from her. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Reich. Is there anyone else who'd like to chime in? I'll note, Ms. Calvert, and I am going to ask you to say a few words if you'd like. Two of your former colleagues are on this call, Carol Lansing and Amy Lucas, who are here for another item, and I'm sure they will tell you there is life after being a city staff person. We just hope that that life more directly interacts with all of the rest of us. Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you, and I just wanted to echo and add my gratitude, and I think the people of Minneapolis' gratitude and deep appreciation for all the work that you've done, Ann, and helping build this city to what it is today, transform this city into something better. I really appreciated my opportunities to work with you, and you've given great assistance to development projects in the second ward as well as throughout the city of Minneapolis, and I wish you all the best and thank you for your service to the city.
Thank you, Councilmember Gordon. We'll ask Ann if she'd like to say a few words.
Well, thank you all so much for this recognition. I'm truly honored to have been able to spend my entire career serving the citizens of my hometown. I've lived here every day of my life, and I expect that might stay to the bitter end. I'm also really grateful for the fact that I was allowed so much of that time to work on my particular passion, which was the riverfront revitalization. It took a long time for us to bring that derelict, abandoned industrial riverfront, which was the city's birthplace, back to life. And it was so great to be able to work. I get credit for a lot of things that happen on the riverfront, but to some extent, I think what I get credit for is being the one who was there to help carry the vision that we started with, and then had the great, great pleasure of being able to see that vision turn into reality. I'm also hugely grateful for all of the people I've worked with over the years, both throughout the city and then also all the partner agencies we worked with, the Park Board, the Historical Society, Hennepin County. because without that teamwork and the support of our elected leadership and our management, nothing would have been possible at all. It's redevelopment is challenging work, and it takes a long-term vision and concerted effort and everybody working together to get there. So it's been a rewarding career, and I'm certainly going to miss my colleagues and going to miss the sense of being part of a team that is working on really, really important work. But now I must admit, I am looking forward to having some more time so I can actually enjoy the city and the riverfront. And believe me, I will probably be, I remain intensely interested in what's going on, and I will continue to be cheering the Above the Falls and the Upper Harbor work so that that too can continue towards the same level of success. So I'll be watching from the sidelines, even if I'm not actively involved. So again, thank you all. I appreciate this. It's a bit surreal to do it from my dining room table through a screen, but that's the way it is these days. So thank you very much, and take care, everyone, and keep up the good fight.
Thank you, Ann. And I want to note for everyone that Ann has or will be receiving the Father of Water statue, as is customary for our very, very long-term employees. And I want to again congratulate you and thank you, Ann. You are an inspiration to all of the staff team and members of the City Council for your incredible work. Seeing no further discussion, I'd like to direct the clerk to receive and file the resolution without objection, and thank Ann. We'll now move on to the consent agenda, which includes items 5 through 20. Item 5 are the liquor license approvals and 6 are the renewals. Item 7 is a grant application to deed for youth employment and training services. Item 8 is property management services for the Upper Harbor Terminal with possible extensions. Item number 9 is a bid to demolish and remove debris at 810 East Lake Street. And item 10 is a bid to demolish and remove debris at 2941 Chicago Avenue. Item 11 is our policy for waiving assessments related to properties damaged during the 2020 declared local emergencies. Item 12 is a contract amendment with Ryan and the Sports Facilities Commission at Downtown East. Item 13 is a contract amendment with e-recording partners for the electric transmission of documents. Item number 14 is a utility easement vacation at 1701 6th Street Southeast. Item 15 is a rezoning at 2014 Washington Avenue North. Item 16 is a rezoning at 4601, 4617, and 4621 Minnehaha. Item number 17 is a rezoning at 636 22nd Avenue Northeast. Item 18 is setting a public hearing, as is item 19 and 20 are referring to staff subject matters of the historic use variance and the renter eviction protection ordinance. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda portion of the agenda or anything anyone would like to pull off the agenda? Seeing none, I'll move items 5 through 20 and please ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Reich,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Osmond,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye. There are
6 ayes.
And those items have been unanimously approved. And with that, we'll move to the public hearing agenda, starting with item number 1, which is a land sale at 2901 Vincent Avenue North. I will invite Mr. Ramadan to give that presentation. Mr. Ramadan, you might need to unmute and press *6. I understand Mr. Ramadan might be having some technical difficulties, and if that's the case, then why don't we go ahead and take item 3, which is a public hearing first, which will give Mr. Ramadan an opportunity to get online. We will be taking up item 3 today with or without a staff recommendation. So we'll item 2 without when he can get on. We'll move to item 3 then and work to get Mr. Ramadan on. Item 3 is an affordable housing project bond issuance. This is the West Broadway Curve affordable housing project. I'd invite staff to give a presentation.
Councilmember Goodman, I believe you are going to just continue this item to the March 2nd meeting.
Thank you. The public hearing will be opened and then we will continue to March 2nd. Is there anyone here to speak to item number 3? Seeing that no one is registered, we will continue to March 2nd. It doesn't look, it looks like we need a roll call vote on that. So we'll go ahead and ask the clerk to call the roll on that postponement to March 2nd.
Councilmember Reich,
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon,
Aye.
Councilmember Osmond,
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison,
Aye.
Councilmember Schrader,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That item has been postponed one more or 2 more cycles actually. And then we'll check and see if Mr. Ramadan has made it onto the call. Okay, if Mr. Ramadan is not on the call, is there anyone else who can give this report?
Yeah, Councilmember Goodman, Elfric Port, Manager, Residential and Real Estate Development. I'm going to present this in Matthew's stead.
Thank you, Mr. Port.
The staff recommends the sale of 4901 Vincent Avenue North to William Washington for its appraised value of $25,000, subject to conditions. This report was heard at the last Biz committee meeting and was tabled until this cycle. Unfortunately, Mr. Washington was involved in a motor accident and wasn't able to meet with the neighborhood group. That said, staff continues to support Mr. Washington's proposal for the development of a triplex, of which he's going to own or occupy one of the units and then rent the other 2 units. Staff is committed to working with the developer and the neighborhood group in addressing the concerns, some of the concerns that they've raised. And at this time, we continue to support the proposal of the sale for 4901 to Mr. Washington for $25,000. I'll stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Alfric on item number 2? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing and ask the clerk if there are any speakers in queue for this item. It does not appear as though any are registered. Is there anyone on the call for item number 2? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and call on Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to move approval.
Approval has been moved of item number 2. Are there any comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Reich,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Osmond,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That item has been approved. We'll now move on to our quasi-judicial public hearing agenda, which is item number 4. This is the demolition of a historic resource. This is an appeal submitted by Neil Reardon regarding the decision of the Heritage Preservation Commission to deny the demolition. I will ask staff to give a presentation, please.
Thank you, Chair Goodman. Good afternoon, council members, I should say. My name is Rob Skalecki. I'm a city planner in the Historic Preservation section of CPED. Today, I'm presenting an appeal application submitted by Neil Reardon, who is the applicant and the appellant of the January 5th, 2021 Heritage Preservation Commission's denial of the demolition of historic resource application for the property located at 21 Washington Avenue North, historically known by the Knutson Company office building. Next slide, please. The subject property is a 5-story modern office building constructed in 1969 by and for the Knutson Construction Company to serve as their office and headquarters. The building was completed as part of the Gateway Center redevelopment project The Knutson Company held exclusive development rights for the approximate 17-block area of this part of the city between 1961 and 1976, and they relocated to the subject location while planning the completion of their projects. Next slide, please. The building was designed by notable local architect Harry Eldon Garish in consultation with Wheeler and Tillett structural engineers and Carl Walker and Associates structural engineers and parking specialists, using a novel system of span-creed prefabricated, pre-stressed concrete panels, beams, columns, and planks to complete the building's construction in approximately 120 days. The building was originally suggested in local news as the first in the area that utilized precast sections of bearing walls in which each story's floor supports the next story's walls, and it may have been among the earliest examples of this system downtown. The building is characterized by its unique geometric patterns of alternating precast concrete panels and glazing, as well as the building's car-centric design with parking located on the first level and office stories located above. The first-story parking area was also recorded as an unusual instance of this design and may be among the earliest examples of this downtown as well. The HBC voted, or I should say noted, that more information is needed to assess the building's potential significance as an earlier important example of this type of construction, design, and building type in Minneapolis. Some commissioners did note that a greater comparative evaluation was not included by the applicant for the building. The applicant did not demonstrate that the property is in an unsafe or dangerous condition or that reasonable alternatives to demolition have been explored. The reuse of the existing building has not been evaluated as part of the applicant's submitted materials. The applicant is proposing to demolish the current building and construct a 27-story mixed-use building on the lot to include 429 dwelling units. On January 5th, 2021, the Minneapolis HBC heard the demolition of historic resource application for the subject property. Agreeing with staff recommendations, the commission voted to deny the application, establish interim protection, and direct staff to prepare or cause to be prepared designation study for the Knutson Company building located at 21 Washington Avenue North. And with that, I'm available for any questions relating to the application or the HBC's decision, but I do understand that the appellant and the appellant team is here to speak as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report. We'll first see if anyone on the council has questions for staff. Seeing none, I'm going to give the project applicant an opportunity to make their case first. I understand the applicant to be Neil Reardon, and I do see him on the phone. Mr. Reardon, welcome, and please unmute and press *6 if you'd like to speak first as the applicant.
Hello, this is Neil. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir. Thank you for being on the call.
Thank you. Neil Reardon, ESG Architecture and Design, 500 Washington Avenue South. Thank you, Chair Goodman and council members. On behalf of our project team, I'll just kick us off here. We have four individuals in addition to myself on the call today. Rick Filler with Harlem Urban Companies, Carol Lansing with Fakery Drinker, and then also I'm going to turn it over in a minute to two people on our team to present. Those will be Allison Mills with CA Ventures, as well as Amy Lucas with Landscape Research. So Rick, myself, and Carol are here to answer questions as they come up. And Allison, I will turn it over to you. And if the clerk can put up the 3-page document submitted during Allison's short presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reardon. Ms. Mills, you would be next. You can see there's a project slide up now. I'd invite you to speak at this time.
Great. Good afternoon, council members. I'm Allison Mills, and I lead the development team for the ownership group, CA Ventures, along with our partner, the Harlem Urban Companies. And yes, all are available here for questions as well. I just wanted to very briefly summarize our involvement with the building and take the opportunity to talk a little bit about the project that we are proposing would replace the existing structure as a bit of background. As you may know, we are the same developer that is currently building 270 Hennepin on the southern portion of the block. And we acquired the 270 Hennepin site along with the Dolphin building in August of 2019 in the same transaction. But we had not actually previously intended to acquire the Dolphin building, but a third party previously under contract fell through at the very last hour. And in order to keep the 270 Hennepin project alive and on track with its design and easements for a construction start later that fall, we came through to purchase it. So in November of that year, we filed a historic review letter request for the Dolphin building and received the historic resource letter from Rob in December of that year. And after that, we immediately engaged our historic consultant, Amy Lucas of Landscape Research, to conduct a complete designation eligibility study of the property. And the conclusion was that the property did not meet National Register or local criteria for designation. We then completed the EAW for the project, and the landscape research study and conclusions were also included in the EAW, and neither city staff nor SHPO indicated any disagreement with the conclusions in the EAW that the property was not eligible for designation. So since then, we have worked to design what we believe is a cohesive, truly master plan development on this block in 2 phases, while the phase 1 270 Hennepin project is currently under construction. And we feel strongly that the proposed project that would replace the existing building will have far more benefits for the city and neighborhood for a few reasons. First, we would be one of the first projects downtown that would fall under the new inclusionary zoning requirements. And we've planned to provide 4% of the units on site affordable to those earning at or below 30% AMI. Second, in addition to the economic and job benefits of the new construction and this kind of investment, the project would also help to maintain the long-term viability of the 2 historic buildings on the block as well. And we've been working with the neighboring ownership to help preserve and accommodate the Lerner and McKesson buildings, and have planned to provide them with improved access, egress, and additional parking in the proposed project, all while still creating a cohesive architectural palette between the buildings. And lastly, we think we are meaningfully improving the existing built condition by screening all parking and activating the overall streetscape. And I want to emphasize that we would not have planned to demolish something that had merit to be reused. When we stepped into this project and the acquisition of the building, we did not know that it was historic, as all these other studies had already been conducted that said that it wasn't. So we felt like it had been exhaustively researched, and the idea that more study for the sake of study would be needed was a surprise to us. And not to mention that pursuing designation of a building that these past studies have already found to be ineligible for federal tax credits makes any meaningful rehabilitation or improvement of the Dolphin building economically inviable. And ultimately, we feel that any more study would also create a significant timing issue for the proposed project and its ability to tie into the construction and infrastructure within the phase 1 of 270 Hennepin, and believe we could lose the project entirely if delayed. So again, I really do thank you for your time today. Our team is, of course, here and available to answer any further questions. But I do want to turn it briefly over to Amy Lucas on our team so she can speak more directly to the comprehensiveness of the past studies that have been done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mills, for your testimony. I'd invite Ms. Lucas to speak next. Please unmute your phone and press *6.
Hi, I'm Amy Lucas. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you for being here.
Great. I'm Amy Lucas with Landscape Research, and I did complete the evaluation of the property on Washington Avenue. First, I would like to say that there have been 4 previous evaluations of the Gateway District and the buildings in it before I completed a fairly exhaustive designation study of the property. In 2000, the city of Minneapolis hired Hess Royce to do the downtown historic context. They did look at the city center and felt that the Public Health Center, City of Lakes building, Federal Courts building, National Life Insurance building were eligible for designation. In 2010, MnDOT retained the services of Hess Royce to do a survey. They came away saying that Federal Reserve Bank, Northwestern National Life building should be listed, but felt that this building, specifically the Knudsen building, did not have integrity for listing. In 2011, the city of Minneapolis hired Mead and Hunt to survey the downtown district. They did not mention the Knutson building, but they did actually propose a contiguous district of gateway buildings that were still there in 2011, including the Towers, the Churchill, the Northwestern Life Insurance Building, as well as some buildings outside of that district. In 2018, the city of Minneapolis hired New History to complete the Minneapolis Modern Architecture 1930 to 1975 context. Again, the consultant came away with listing many buildings that they felt were eligible for designation. They did not recommend a district, and neither did I when I evaluated the building, the Knutson building, as well as the buildings around it. Most of the time, when you are doing a historic designation study, if the building does not have historic integrity, you stop. That's a National Register requirement. You don't go further. In this case, I continue to evaluate the building against all the designation criteria for the city, but the Knutson building has lost its historic integrity. In 1987, 91 new openings in the building were cut, concrete cut out of the building, squares, and new aluminum, turquoise aluminum windows were put in along with tinted glass, as well as all the tiny slit windows that were in the building were taken out and replaced with turquoise frames and tinted glass. The windowless main entrance was removed and a turquoise glass entrance system was put in. And then in 2005, the underground parking was filled with a drive-through bank. This integrity problem it's damaging enough to not be eligible for National Register or local listing. I also found in the research that the building did not meet the criteria for designation. And I did go through all of the points that Mr. Selecki's report went through, and I won't go through the whole evaluation other than to say I'm here for questioning. But I do think that the designation study was fairly exhaustive on the history and integrity of this building.
Thank you, Ms. Lucas, for your report. We'll see if there's anyone else on your team who feels compelled to speak now. Is there anyone else on the project team who would like to speak? If not, I'm going to open the public hearing to other members of the public who would like to speak on this item and ask the clerk if there are speakers in queue. I do have a list that includes Mr. McConnell. I'm not sure if Ms. Lansing or Mr. Filler are also going to speak or leave it to their team, but I will call on Mr. McConnell next. Please press *6 to unmute.
Madam Chair and members, I sent in a letter of support to overrule the HPC on this, and I would certainly appreciate the support of replacing this outdated building. I mentioned in the letter really that's not very energy efficient, and we could certainly do better with a new building on that site. Appreciate your support. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell. I'll ask Ms. Lansing or Mr. Filler if they have anything they'd like to add. If you do, please press *6 to unmute. Seeing that neither of them is going to speak, I'm going to see if there's anyone else on the call that we are unaware of that would like to speak to this issue. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. I will ask if there are members of the council who have comments or questions or a motion. Seeing none, I'm going to move to grant the appeal. Oh, Councilmember Schrader.
You beat me to it, Madam Chair. I was going to move to grant the appeal. I'm convinced that there's been enough study of this and have heard enough. And I'm happy to have you move it. Otherwise, I'm happy to move it as well.
Please do so.
I would like to move this item for approval.
Thank you, Councilmember Schrader. I will note that I really feel Ms. Lucas's analysis of the level of analysis of this building was about as thorough as I have seen, and that's really what we need to take into consideration here. With that, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on Councilmember Schrader's motion.
Councilmember Reich,
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon,
Aye.
Councilmember Osmond,
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison,
Aye.
Councilmember Schrader,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That motion is approved. Seeing no further business before the committee and without objection.
Madam Chair, if I might interject, this is Mr. Fussy from the Attorney's Office. I do think it would be appropriate to direct staff to prepare findings regarding your most recent motion.
Thank you, sir. I will ask staff to kindly prepare findings to support the council's motion and direct you to Ms. Lucas's analysis of the fact that the building is not eligible for tax credits and has been studied endlessly for information with regard to those findings. Would that suffice, Mr. Fussy?
It certainly would. Thank you, Madam Chair, although I believe it would have to be a motion.
I will move to direct staff to draft findings consistent with Ms. Lucas's comments in her study, as well as the testimony and comments of members of the committee. On that motion, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Reich,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Osmond,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Schrader,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
Thank you to the clerk. Now, seeing no further business before us and without objection, we will declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you all for being here today.